Hey everyone, Duke Nuka 3D here with not a mask review, but more of a set of accessories to talk about and explain, because today we're taking a look at two different chemical hoods for the M45 series chemical biological protective mask, or Land Warrior mask, Air Warrior, whichever you prefer to call them, because I've got two different examples of the standard chemical protective hood for the M45 here in my collection. There were several different variants. These masks didn't really have a whole lot of continuity in terms of their accessories, and it kind of had a whole slew of different developments as time went on, and we're going to take a look at a couple of those today. A lot of this development actually stems back from the XM44 development with the I don't want to say that the XM44 was the experimental for this mask. Again, that isn't my field of research. Raptor would know more about that. I'll probably link his channel, although he's not very active, but just for the sake of who he is, I guess. But again, getting ahead of myself. So let's get into the actual hoods. There is two main variants of the M45 chemical hood. There is possibly a third, but again, I'm not entirely sure on that. I didn't do too much research before doing this, but the first variant, and the most common, is the butyl-coated nylon hood, which most people will refer to as the QuickDa Hood, even though it's not QuickDa. This is a non-elasticated hood, very much made along similar design principles to the older ABC M5 hood for like combat vehicle crewmen's masks, like the M25 series. But anywho, it's as I mentioned before, non-elasticated, completely pressure fit around the periphery of the face seal, and then you have a small bit of drawstring, which secures the hood if the mask is a smaller size, and it is retained by the hood stop on the bottom of the peripheral seal of the secondary skin. Not much to say about that. Kind of not a... it's an alright design. Once it's on, it's on. It doesn't really cause too much stress to the face piece as a QuickDa would. I don't believe the QuickDa hoods were ever issued with the M45. I've tried them. They don't really fit all that well. They tend to crush the face piece. It has a neck drawstring, which is adjusted with a simple spring ball slider here, whereas other neck drawstrings on chemical hoods will either have like a leather tab or a plastic slider assembly. This goes for a much simpler approach, but still a bit more refined than the leather slider of, say, the M6A2 hoods. It has two underarm straps, which are interesting because, as with the QuickDa hood, those were rubberized. These are just a nylon ribbon, and it has a very peculiar quick-release buckle assembly, where instead of being two little tabs, just pressing on these two tabs, you have these sort of little bridges which press the tabs for you, so that there's obviously you'll have less motor skills while wearing chemical gloves, so this makes it a bit easier in theory. However, it is still a little bit awkward in my opinion, but once those are pressed down, obviously it really ejects the strap from out underneath, and then they are adjusted with a simple plastic tri-glide buckle, if that's the correct term for it. Basically right there. Not really much to say about it. There doesn't appear to be any sort of markings on this hood. I've checked all through it. There's really nothing to see on the inside. There's no markings, no stamps at all, really, which is kind of surprising. You'd think something like this would be marked a bit more thoroughly, but it really isn't. So, kind of interesting to note that I have not found any single any markings whatsoever on this particular example. There may be other examples which may have markings, but this one does not. So, I'm putting that out for your consideration. Also worth noting is this size medium M45, which I recently picked up. This one is a later contract one, which has been produced by, if the camera will focus, give me one moment, folks. Just a second. Trying to get the camera to focus, it's not doing so well. I just want to focus on that manufacturer stamp, that's all I want to do, folks. So I got this M45 recently, mainly because I needed a medium-sized nose cup for my size large in order for it to fit me. There we go. As you can see, this one's made by RCC. I'm not entirely sure what that company is. The main two manufacturers for the M45, initially on it was Campbell's Plastics, but because they were holding trade secrets from the US government, the Army basically sued them out the ass, and then they set up their own puppet company, Warco, to produce the M45s. And then sometime around 2009, this company, RCC, began to take over, and this one is a 2010 production example. So again, if anyone knows what RCC is, what company they are, feel free to leave a comment in the description, or in the comment section rather. I'll leave the description to me. But that's basically all there is to mention about that, and obviously inside of here there's a large nose cup because I swapped it over from my size large. So getting on to the next hood, we have probably my favorite hood variant, which is the Gore Chem Pack hood. Let me get that camera to focus again. The Gore Chem Pack hoods are interesting because it is what's known as a selectively permeable fabric, in that it doesn't allow chemical agents and liquid agents to permeate the fabric itself, but it is a light and breathable fabric that allows some perspiration and heat to transpire through the fabric from the inside, but not any liquids or gases to penetrate the fabric from the outside. It's very interesting, and as far as I know, it isn't as reusable as, say, the butyl-coated nylon. However, it does have a very decent longevity in terms of its life, so I'd imagine they'd both be around the same with the amount of times you're allowed to use them, with this being obviously a little bit lesser so, but it's definitely served its purpose well. And obviously I'm just in love with the color. I love that sage green color that Gore Chem Pack hoods are made out of, and these ones are made, this is basically, you may recognize this style of hood from, say, like the Avon FM53, and this is basically where that design originally came from, because these are often called Sonnen hoods, because obviously you have the Gore Chem Pack material for the hood basis, and then there is a secondary skin which is sewn into the hood itself, and then all the seams are covered with glue and more Gore Chem Pack tape, and the reason for that is to not allow any sort of gas to permeate the seams and so on and so forth. Not really much to say about that externally. There's no underarm straps, as you can see, for a very specific reason, which I'll get into in a moment. But and I know that when I said that there was possibly a third variant, there is potentially a sewn-in variant of the butyl-coated nylon hoods. I'm not entirely sure. I know that the XM44 prototypes did have a similar sewn-in hood that used butyl-coated nylon material with a sewn-in secondary skin, similar to the Gore Chem Pack hoods, but I'm not sure if any production M45 hoods were made along those lines. So again, take what I say there with a grain of salt. But getting onto the interior of the hood, one more thing to notice is a marking on the side. And again, the camera hates focusing on these little roundels. As you can see, this is a Warco second skin, which has a production date of 2004. So this is a 2004 dated second skin. However, the production date of the hood itself may be a bit different. Now, give me one moment to flip the hood around, because there's a very interesting feature on the inside, which is the reason why it never used a set of underarm straps, as with most chemical hoods. It's a little bit more difficult to flip around than the butyl-coated nylon hoods. But anywho, on the interior of the hood, you have this massive markings tag, which is very, like, they could have sewn this down a little bit better to somewhere else on the hood. But as you can see, if I could get that to focus, you got the size, and these come in proprietary sizes, so you can't just order any old Gore Chem Pack hood for an M45. It has to be the specific size for the mask, because obviously the secondary skins come in a variety of sizes for different masks, and so you would need the specific size for your specific mask. Whereas, like, say an M40A1 or an MCU2/P series mask will have a sort of universal second skin where it's either small or medium large. The M45 second skins come in a variety of sizes from extra small to large. So I was lucky enough to be able to find a large-sized Gore Chem Pack hood. There's all the NSN markings, and the manufacturer's date is 2005, 10/2005. So this one is made a little bit later. It's made a year later than the second skin's cure date. And then there's the warranty date. So that's what I assume to be how long the hood has until expiration, if these have an expiry. So 0504. So not sure what that is, what that's all about, because that's obviously an earlier. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out later. Someone will probably explain if I don't realize what that is. But anyways, you may have noticed this very strange neck dam with these little loops around here. I assume these loops are for a neck drawstring, which have not been added. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. But what's interesting is this, which I believe is neoprene, this little bit of material is a neoprene neck dam, and it's pile lined on the opposite side. And what this is for, and this is the reason why they didn't include any underarm straps on the Gore Chem Pack hoods, is because these were meant to interface with suits like the Kokatat AP PPE suit, which have the option to come with a neck collar system, which has Velcro patches along it that the hood would interface with and connect to. And so having a underarm strap system is a bit redundant when you have systems like that. And I need to pick up a Kokatat AP PPE someday. They're very hard to find because they're very limited issue suits, and they're pretty much only issued to special forces, SOCOM, what have you. So they're very hard to come by. There was an auction for one on eBay, but that one's going to close, and I know there's a few training ones out there. I need to pick one up sometime. But anywho, enough about that. That's basically what that's for, and why they chose this design. And I believe the FM53 hood uses something similar. I did actually have a very early contract Gore Chem Pack FM53 hood, which is now in Moulage's collection. I assume he'll make a video on that whenever he gets an FM53. Because he used to have one, he sold it off, but now he has the hood for one that I found and gave to him for various reasons. But anywho, not much else to say about that. It's a very nice hood. I absolutely love the color of these Gore Chem Pack hoods, and definitely, probably, if I had to pick a favorite mask in my collection, or just in general, I know the easy answer would be to say the Akron Tissot, because that's basically what I studied. But like the M45 is basically, I hold the mask very near and dear to my heart. There's a lot of good design aspects, and it's just an all-around aesthetic as hell mask, in my personal opinion. But anywho, enough about that. That's all I have to say. If you have any comments, questions, corrections, or concerns relating to the topic of the video, feel free to leave those down in the comments below, and I'll see you all later.